one day somebody asked me how they were in my studio in Seattle, and they said, "How come you're so comfortable when people look at your work? You don't get intimidated." Guess they were watching my behavior, and I said, "Gee, I love good questions. I wish there were more people asked good questions like that." And I went away. I said, "Let me think about it." So I did for 2 days. And I came back, and I was so pleased. Because of the question, that was a good one, I was able to say to her, why would I ever be intimidated or afraid when I always tell my truth? I don't show anything that I don't feel like it's a part of me. So there's no performance in the work I do. I do not paint to please. I paint my truth. People will either like it or they won't, and it's the same with my designs. So I felt so good because I said, if you don't lie and you're not trying to copy or emulate somebody else, but it's truly who you know you are, which so many people don't, they just copy superficially. I changed the program many, many moons ago. Many moons.
Moons, yeah.
Yes.
Astrology keeps coming up.
It does, yeah.
Do you find astrology is a big influence on your stuff?
Let's say this. I have had a tremendous education over my years of discovery. I've done just so many things, from hypnosis to bioenergetics and Rolfing and you name it. I've pretty much taken deep courses in it and use it, and astrology is one. I don't do astrology well. I hung out in the States with many astrologers that did the textbooks.
Yeah.
They had great minds, and so I learned what I was about through astrology. And I have to say that of all those kinds of things, because astrology to me is astronomy, it's nature, it's based there. And I'm not a woo-woo person. I'm very grounded in reality. But this is one of the most accurate formulas that I have actually seen. It's very mathematical. It's all, and I watch personally, although I'm not technical about the astrology stuff per se. My personal life is completely around watching nature cycles. The amount of years a cycle is, the full circle thing, it's endless. I can't think of them all right now, but that's how I watch astrology from nature. But technically, I have a very apparently interesting astrology chart. I have most of my energy is up in the left-hand corner, which is all about high-mindedness, curiosity, physics, math, God, all those things, and it's just concentrated up there. So I now know that that's one of the symbols that's made my brain and how I discover things in my own unique way, because I choose never to copy another human being. So it ties in, it really does. And my Gemini's rising again, by the way, and apparently that's more important than your sun sign.
Okay.
Because your rising sign apparently is how the world sees you. And I wrote many years of my life story, and what I called it was once a hummingbird, now a tree, because when I was a hummingbird, I was so Gemini. I was everywhere, seeking the truth of Diana. And now it's come again, and it's rising again, and now the work is going up.
Seems so.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you being a tree now. You've planted roots here in Coos. What brought you to stay rooting here, I guess you could say?
Well, it's interesting. I gave up. I shouldn't say I gave up, because I chose to live out of the box. Because when I lived in it, it was very much not right. It wasn't natural. I was being what everybody wanted me to be. And then I couldn't do it, and I was getting very sick, and eventually I almost died. That's another story. But the tree part, well, let me go back to the Gemini part. That took me around the world, and when I left the family because they wouldn't work with me to understand each side, what could I do? So I became a universal citizen because I have not a bigoted thought or feeling in my body. Everybody to me is equal unless you hurt another. That's my only rule. There is no fighting, there's communication, there's listening to one another, and all of those kinds of things. So that was the Gemini and the hummingbird, and then I came full circle back to BC. I was conceived on a troop train in PEI in the Second World War. And I was born in Winnipeg, and I was raised in Vancouver. So I came back full circle, but this time I didn't go back to Vancouver. I'd been gone out of the country for 30-some-odd years. And but I decided to come here because I didn't want to have a big city now. I've lived in all the great cities that I wanted to, and I wanted more quiet. So I didn't come to the Kootenays per se. I did not come to Nelson per se. I came to the mountains.
I see.
I needed the mountains. And then I still didn't know if I was rooted, and now I've been here 6 years. And another part of my discovery in my paintings, because everything, there's not a thing in my work that isn't connected with nature. But I'm learning about the roots now of the tree.
It's going to be more evident.
And so, well, it's that part that we don't see or technically understand unless we take courses in it. But now I am learning through others that do understand that part of nature. And now I'm doing, I hope, endless paintings on not just the trees, but I'm now in my 4th painting on the roots.
So, and that's what you're working on right now?
That's what I'm working on right now, and I'm so excited. It's like I've got so much energy inside me to express the roots now. So yeah, those are my favorites, the trees and the roots, and then everything else, of course, comes with it. But those are the strong things, and I'm waiting for some 6-foot canvases to come along in the next week. And
you going to keep up with the roots theme?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and the tree, many trees, and it's all a combination because I've got so much that I discovered that works in my techniques, in my expression, that now it's just grown. And that first 5 years, twice, those first 2 styles that I discovered within me, well, they were the foundation of now there's just so much more because I paint every day, and I'm incredibly focused. I don't have noise in my life. I choose to have a few good friends and nurture them. I do my artwork, and I don't get distracted. I'm incredibly focused and disciplined.
That's definitely good advice. Staying focused. It's easy
not many people have it. I watch very closely, and they seem to either absolutely are amazed and love what I do, because that's one of the things that most people, and they've told me, that they can't or don't do. Focus to me and discipline is freedom. I don't listen to stuff. It means nothing to me. It's just distraction. I am so focused, and people love me or hate me for that gift, I think it is, because, I had no idea when I became a weaver and I became a painter. That was truth. It came from inside me and showed me the way. And I've never stopped. When I was told, you play piano or you do this, and it wasn't me, who's got discipline? It wasn't connected with me. I am so connected, Brian. I'm so connected.
That's good. It's good to it takes a long time to get there, you know?
Well, it does, and it's, it's the pursuing your heart and your soul, to me, is the greatest gift any human being can give to themselves. And most don't, because I was a guest at the University of Washington a few years ago, and the subject was, why is mankind the way they are? And there was a lot of high-minded thinkers there, and we came after 4 hours of discussion that basically mankind is lazy. He's not willing to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
It takes so much work, but to me, it's the best work in the entire world, because if you don't know who you are, where's the connection, where's the passion, where's the good work? I could go on, but you get the idea.
Yeah, it reminds me of a quote from one of my favorite movies. He said, well, the guy was posing a question. He said, why is it that so few achieve the higher status of like the philosopher or the artist, whereas so many don't? They can't
That's
make
right,
it there.
that's right.
And he said to answer that question, you can answer that question with another question. And that question is, what's the more universal human trait, fear or laziness? So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And may I add to that with all the studying at so many levels that I've got under my belt now, because I was discovering who I was, fear is the biggest base that the majority of the planet is in, and I do feel very strongly that that is why the world is a mess, in my opinion, except for a few. There are some good, solid people, but are you familiar with Abraham Maslow? He died years ago, but he's a great thinker, and I can't remember the books names. I read them years ago, but he said something, and I have found out that many years later it's true. He said, the more you know who you are, the more you will find yourself alone, because you just don't put up with nonsense anymore. You have work to do. So consciousness, and when I look around, people are either following the crowd in general. I'm not saying specifically, there's a few in the world, but there's not very many. And of course, most people don't even use a big part of either their brain or their body, and yet this is our temple that we've been given inside and out to make it the very best we can possibly make it. And that takes work, because what I found is that when you change your programming from inside out to be a real truth, know thyself, you've got to break the old programs that you were conditioned to when you were born. My parents, so many people, I mean, I've had a lot of exposure to the world, and most people do not know who they are. So they follow, and they don't think they have choices. So they lose their power. And then they take it out in other ways, which is, in my opinion, fear-based instead of love and heart-based.